Hey everybody, welcome and thanks for tuning in. We haven't had an update on the Willys in a while. The weather's been so terrible around here. I haven't been feeling well and we kind of hit a big snag. But before we talk about the big snag, I wanted to let you know that I figured out and finally got the brake lights working as they should. It was kind of a combination of a couple different things. Number one, you see this little clip? This little clip is sort of intended to go over the terminal end of the wire that goes into the front of the brake light switch on the front of the master cylinder. Well, this clip was on one of the posts in such a way that it was also barely making contact with the other post. So it was essentially preventing either post from providing a correct signal. I was probing around with my multimeter and my long test wire there and got that figured out. The other thing was the brake light wires had come disconnected from that plug right there. So I don't know when that occurred, but obviously if that's disconnected, nothing's going to work at all. But it wasn't just that, it was a combination of that and the little clip sort of grounding itself out on the other post. And if you remember from one of the previous videos, before we changed out that master cylinder switch, the brake lights would work, but you'd really have to press on the brake pedal hard. And that's why I replaced the switch in the first place. So it's got a brand new switch on there. But now when you press on the pedal, you do not have to press firmly anymore. Just do it normally. See, this is all it takes now. You can watch the amp gauge. That amp gauge is a signal that the brake lights are working. So we can finally take brake lights off of the list. The other thing I got fixed maybe a month or two ago, I just haven't posted it yet, was the emergency brake. So the emergency brake wasn't just not working, the handle was physically removed and laying on the passenger side floorboard over there. Anyway, I got that fixed also. So as far as the snag we ran into, unfortunately, I found a crack in the side of the engine block. It's only a hairline crack, but it's 3 or 4 inches long and it does leak coolant out the side of the block. Now, one of the reasons I haven't noticed this until this point is that it doesn't leak until the engine gets up to operating temperature. It doesn't leak until the engine gets hot. So when it's sitting in the shop cold, which is how it spends most of its time, it doesn't leak at all. But when you start the engine and get it up to operating temperature, then coolant starts to leak out of that hairline crack at the side of the block. We are also getting coolant out the exhaust pipe, and we are also getting coolant into the crankcase. I do have some video footage of all of that evidence. If you guys are interested in seeing that, let me know in the comments section. If there's enough of you interested in seeing my process and watching me go through and diagnose all of that, I'll be happy to put a video together. So the next question is, what are we going to do about this? So unfortunately, this isn't just a small block Chevy or something. We can't just open a catalog, order a crate motor, and have it delivered in 7 days. They don't make these engines anymore. But there are some builders out there that specialize in these engines, and we are on the waiting list to get a rebuilt engine. If this was a Ford 9N or maybe even a Model T, I would take this challenge on myself. But this is a unique engine. I've never even had one of these apart. We're not going to go that route. We're on the list for a brand new rebuilt L134. I'm kind of the pessimist of the family. My wife is the optimist. I said, man, this is really a drag, especially since we got the engine running so well. It's funny that it runs so well with the crack in the block and coolant contamination all over the place. I don't quite understand it. So I'd say, man, this is a real drag. But she says, well, yeah, but when you get it done, it's going to be better than ever. So we're going to move forward with the project. We're going to go with the optimist point of view, and we're going to keep checking things off our list on the whiteboard over there. And when it's done, it'll be better than ever. So if you want to hang out for just a little bit longer, you can watch the content of me fixing the emergency brake. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video, and don't worry, this project is moving forward. All right, now I'm going to fix this emergency brake. And one of the reasons I know the emergency brake isn't working, the handle is right there. It was just on the passenger side floor over there. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on with it. Let me show you up front here. So right here, this is the emergency brake cable, and right there is the end. There's a little ball on the end of the cable. Nothing seems to be wrong with the cable. The ball is a little bit worn out, but it's not terrible. You can see how the ball is supposed to fit in that hole, and then the cable fits in through that slot, and you pull it down to the bottom, and that's what the handle hooks onto. It goes into this mount here, down all the way down, and then when you pull it out, it will click and latch wherever you want it. And then to run it in, you just twist it and push it back. But of course, it's not connected to anything. So the handle looks to me like it's probably the original one that came with the truck from the factory. So it's old and a little bit fatigued, but it also has a crack on the back side of it right there. So whenever you pull the handle with some force, that ball will cause the end of this to spread. And then when it spreads just enough, the ball will pop out. So I think this is going to be a relatively easy fix. I think we'll just weld that crack up. And in addition to that, I might weld a washer on the end of it just as some added support for that ball. And I'll show you that in a little bit. All right, I've got the ends ground down to fresh metal and ready to weld. And in addition to welding up this crack, I'm going to weld this little washer on the end, and that will effectively be narrowing the diameter of the hole on the end. All right, here's the weld I just made on the crack. Turned out pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and grind this down. All right, the welds are all ground down. Turned out pretty nice, I think. Can't even tell there was a crack there. All right, I've got the washer welded onto the end. You can see that hole is a smaller diameter now. So the only thing left to do is cut a slit where that washer filled that part in, and then just spray it with some paint and get it installed. All right, here's the finished product. Turned out all right. Let's go get it installed. It's kind of hard to get a good shot with the camera here, but this is the end of the cable. There's a little bracket, and that attaches to this bracket on the firewall of the truck with this nut and bolt. I need to grab the end of the ball and pull the cable out of the sheathing. Try to get another pair of vice grips on the bottom so it won't go back in. And now just have to put the ball through that hole. All right, there's a better shot of it with the bolt fastened through that bracket. E-brake is done. We can check it off the list.